Hello, everybody. I'm Ashish from MASH Project Foundation. It gives me an immense pleasure to host today's program on a very, very important day as we mark the World Mental Health Day. Mental health as a topic concerns all of us, but especially as the youth of India, young people. We are the future of this country. And we often talk about physical health, various other forms of health, but mental health is less talked about. Thanks to media and awareness and efforts by some of the leaders, that it has come to in the mainstream light. And this initiative with Daily Hunt is to bring important conversations around mental health and how can we as youth of India create a more mental health friendly nation and create India probably the most friendly, mental health friendly nation in the world. Today, I have the honor of having one of the most expert, a gentleman working in this domain for many, many years. I've had the privilege of knowing and working with him and running many successful campaigns. Allow me to welcome Dr. Samir Parikh. Hello, Dr. Parikh.
Hi, good to be here.
Dr. Parikh leads. Thank you, sir. Dr. Parikh leads the National Health Mission of Fortis Mental Health. He has been running various campaigns, various interesting initiatives. He is one of the most talked about expert on when it comes to the topic of mental health. And with his unique style of communication, with his very creative ways of getting the messages to young people and many other important stakeholders. He's also written a book. I think Dr. Parikh's advice to our young people is very important. And today I also have some of our recently awarded the winners of Story for Glory program, who themselves are very young and dynamic in nature, and they have some very interesting questions that they have put together to ask Dr. Parikh. So, without spending more time, allow me to welcome our Story for Glory fellow winners one by one. First, I have Abhay Sharma. Hi, Abhay.
Hi, Ashish. Hi, Doctor Sir. Hi.
Next, we
How are you
have
guys doing?
Radhika Nair.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Radhika. Next, we have Mariam. Now we have Sukirat.
Hello,
And we
sir.
have,
Hello, everybody.
hi, Sukirat. Hi,
Happy to
Sahil.
connect. Ashish, good evening, doctor. Good evening, everyone.
Great. I think let's get started. Very excited for this discussion and interaction. So I will start with Abhay. Abhay, why don't you go first and ask your questions to Dr. Parikh?
Sure. Hi, sir. This is Abhay. And रहने वाला मैं रायपुर छत्तीसगढ़ का हूँ. अभी दिल्ली में रह रहा हूँ काम के सिलसिले में. और सर काम के दौरान कुछ चीज़ें जो ऑब्जर्व किए मैंने वो ये है कि व्हेन आई एम आउटसाइड मैं बहुत ज़्यादा जंक खाता हूँ, जिससे शरीर पर इफेक्ट बिल्कुल पड़ता है. बट आई वाज थिंकिंग कि व्हाट आर द जंक फूड फॉर माय ब्रेन व्हिच आई एम, मतलब जो मैं ले रहा हूँ अननोइंगली, सबकॉन्शियसली अनकॉन्शियसली, मैं जो जंक फूड, भले ही वो सोशल मीडिया हो, किसी के नेगेटिव टर्म्स हो, सो व्हाट आर दोज ए, एंड मैं उनसे बच कैसे सकता हूँ, उन जंक फूड से जो मेरे दिमाग के लिए हानिकारक है.
दो हिस्से हैं तुम्हारे सवाल के. वैसे certain aspects of what we actually eat or have, उनकी भी वैल्यू है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर हम कैफीन इंटेक ज़्यादा रखते हैं तो भी हमारी मेंटल हेल्थ पर असर करता है. हमारा डाइट ठीक ना हो तो जो न्यूट्रिशनल डेफिशिएंसीज होती हैं वो भी हमारी मेंटल हेल्थ पर असर करती है. सब्सटेंस अब्यूज़ हमारे लिए बहुत ज़्यादा हानिकारक है और ये हम सबको बहुत समझना ज़रूरी है. यंग पीपल से नो टू सब्सटेंसेस एवरी टाइम. दूसरा पहलू जो आपने बोला वो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है. मुझे लगता है कि आज के माहौल में जहाँ हम हैं, हम कहीं भी देखेंगे हमें बहुत कुछ नजर आएगा. पॉजिटिविटी भी नजर आएगी, नेगेटिविटी भी नजर आएगी, वैल्यूज भी नजर आएंगी, जहां वैल्यूज ब्रेक होती हैं वो भी नजर आएगा, सही एम्पैथेटिक लैंग्वेज भी सुनाई देगी, और अब्यूजिव लैंग्वेज और स्लेजिंग और ट्रोलिंग भी दिखाई देगी। बात ये नहीं है कि मैं इससे बचूं कैसे, बात ये है that what skill set do I develop that the negative impact of this so-called junk, like you said, does not happen on me. So for example, अगर कोई इंफॉर्मेशन मेरे सामने आती है, first I should see fake or true, and then whether it is actually something that I should gather, whether it is something I should ignore, and before I forward it, I should think about it, gather more information, know more different perspectives, so that एक ही चीज ना हम देखे जाए, क्योंकि there are so many perspectives to life. इस तरह से समझना जरूरी है। अब मुझे लगता है developing skills in today's time is the key, और खास करके मीडिया लिटरेसी। स्कूली बच्चों से हमें शुरू करके मीडिया लिटरेसी पे काम करने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि एक इंट्रूसिव, हाईली प्रेवलेंट, हाईली इजीली एक्सेसिबल, लार्जली अनकंट्रोल्ड इंफॉर्मेशन चैनल्स के बीच में यंग लोग हैं। तो आई थिंक दैट्स समथिंग व्हाट माय थॉट वुड बी।
All right. Thank you so much, sir. And I have just one another question. कि जिस तरीके से हम फिजिकल एक्सरसाइजेज करते हैं टू मेंटेन आवर बॉडी, ज़्यादा गलत खाने से we tend to do burpees or we some physical exercises. Are there any set practices जो हमें करना चाहिए या जो हम कर सकते हैं जब हम किसी लो पॉइंट में हो, एग्जॉस्टिंग फील कर रहे हो मेंटली, एंड वहाँ से हम अपने आप को उठा सकते हैं, या कोई सर्टेन प्रैक्टिसेस है जो हमें मेक फील गुड फैक्टर हमारा बढ़ाए?
अब वैसे फिजिकल एक्सरसाइज भी मानसिक स्वास्थ्य के लिए जरूरी है। सो हैविंग फिजिकल एक्सरसाइज, योगा, मेडिटेशन, रिलैक्सेशन इज गुड फॉर मेंटल हेल्थ। उसी तरह से क्रिएटिव इंटरेस्ट, म्यूजिक, रीडिंग, राइटिंग, पोएट्री इज गुड फॉर मेंटल हेल्थ। टेकिंग मी टाइम आउट, ऐसा टाइम जिसमें आप थोड़े रिलैक्स हो या ऐसी चीज करें जो करनी आपको पसंद हो, दैट्स गुड फॉर योर मेंटल हेल्थ। स्टिमुलेशन बहुत जरूरी है, मतलब उदाहरण के तौर पे चाहे वो सुडोकू हो या स्क्रैबल हो, राइट। और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि यंग लोग, आप लोगों को क्या करना चाहिए कि सारे नंबर सेव तो चलो इसलिए करने पड़ते हैं क्योंकि आपको टैक्स वगैरह करना है, बट कोशिश करिए कि जिन लोगों से आप रेगुलरली बात करते हैं उनका जब नंबर डायल करें तो नाम ना करने के बदले एक्चुअल डिजिट्स को यूज करें, तो आपका मेंटल कंपोनेंट कंटिन्यू रहता है। समझ रहे हैं इस बात को? वो भी एक मेंटल एक्सरसाइज है। थोड़ा स्पोर्ट्स खेलना मेंटल एक्सरसाइज है, अलग अलग किस्म की रीडिंग करना मेंटल एक्सरसाइज है। लंबे समय तक डिजिटल इंटरफेस नहीं करके डिजिटल डिटॉक्स करना भी एक तरह से मेंटली बहुत जरूरी है। और घुमा फिरा के अगर एक दो चीजें खास इंपॉर्टेंट हो तो रिश्ते और मजा, हैव फन एंड इन्वेस्ट इन रिलेशनशिप्स। देयर इज नथिंग बेटर फॉर योर मेंटल डेवलपमेंट than people and fun.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Parikh, and thanks, Abhay. Very interesting questions, and you emphasize on some very simple tips all of us can do, but we never think about it. कि सर इन छोटी-छोटी simple तरीकों का कितना बड़ा positive impact हो सकता है हमारे ऊपर. Next, let's go to Radhika. Radhika, please ask your questions to Dr. Parikh.
Good evening, sir. It's a pleasure to have a talk with you today. So my first question is basically I wanted to know what is the thin line difference between nervousness, anxiety and panic, which a lot of us don't know. हम confuse हो जाते हैं in terms में. So how can we differentiate between them?
I think, Radhika, try and understand this. A lot of this happens because we use English language, and English language and clinical words in mental health are very similar. So, for example, anxiety disorders is one of the biggest disorder category in mental health. Matlab, almost 240 plus million people in the world suffer from some kind of an anxiety disorder. WHO ने अभी पेंडेमिक के बाद कहा था कि पेंडेमिक के 2 सालों में डिप्रेशन और एंजाइटी 25% बढ़ गया, 25% इंक्रीज, right? Nervousness can also be a very here and now experience. I'm nervous about talking. I'm nervous about an exam. Or if that nervousness is very general, I mean, throughout present for a continuous time, and I keep on thinking, that could be a form of an anxiety disorder if it has other symptoms and signs with it. Panic is a sudden episode of acute anxiety. सडन एपिसोड माने सडनली मुझे घबराहट हुई, पैल्पिटेशन हुई, चक्कर वक्कर आए, नॉजिया वॉमिट जैसा लगा मुझे क्या हो रहा है, हार्ट में कुछ तो नहीं हो रहा, दिमाग में कुछ तो नहीं हो रहा, समथिंग्स हैपनिंग, इट कम्स बिल्ड्स अप सडनली, गोज डाउन सडनली, दैट्स पैनिक। यही पैनिक अटैक मुझे बार बार आता है, वो पैनिक डिसऑर्डर बनता है। ये पैनिक अटैक मुझे सोशल सिचुएशंस में आता है, वो सोशल एंजाइटी डिसऑर्डर कहा जाता है। ये पैनिक डिसऑर्डर मुझे स्पेसिफिक एस्पेक्ट से आता है तो वो फोबिया होता है। और एंजाइटी अलग अलग किस्म के डिसऑर्डर्स होते हैं। एंड आई थिंक जरूरी यह है कि हम लोग अपनी लैंग्वेज को संभालें जब हम मेंटल हेल्थ रिलेटेड वर्ड्स को यूज करें, क्योंकि बहुत लूजली यूज करते हैं, डिप्रेस, एंजाइटी, ओसी, इस तरह के वर्ड्स यूज करते हैं। कभी कभी हम ये वर्ड्स लोगों को नीचा दिखाने के लिए भी यूज करते हैं, राइट? सो वी शुड बी केयरफुल विथ आवर लैंग्वेज व्हेन इट कम्स टू मेंटल हेल्थ।
डेफिनेटली सर। और सर मेरा एक इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक जो मैं ट्राई भी करती थोड़ा रीड करने के बारे में, दैट इज नार्सिसिस्टिक पर्सनालिटी डिसऑर्डर। तो मैं ये जानना चाहती थी कि क्या नार्सिसिस्टिक पर्सनालिटी डिसऑर्डर ट्रीटेबल है, क्योरेबल है? क्योंकि मैंने कई जगह पढ़ी है कि वो इनबॉर्न होती है, लोगों में पहले से ही होती है, तो वो चेंज नहीं कर सकता कोई उनको।
See, try and understand this. There are disorders and there or illnesses and there are personality disorders. So disorders जो illnesses होती हैं, जैसे उदाहरण के तौर पे मानो डिप्रेशन, मतलब I've been living fine for several years. Suddenly at a cross section I develop an illness which may or may not be episodic. It has a clear origin. कब शुरू हुआ मुझे पता है। Personality disorders, all of the personality disorders probably started much earlier in my life, gradually. It's a combination of some traits and my personality types which came together in a cluster form and they become a part of who I am. Now, why some people think that personality disorder का इलाज नहीं होता is because personality disorders directly do not have a medical intervention. मतलब गोली खा के, दवा खा के नहीं होगा। कुछ पर्सनालिटी डिसऑर्डर्स में मेडिकल इंटरवेंशन होता है, पर वो कोमॉर्बिडिटी होता है। सो फॉर एग्जांपल आपने जैसे नार्सिसिस्टिक का एग्जांपल लिया, या बॉर्डरलाइन होता है, या हिस्ट्रियोनिक है, या ऑब्सेसिव है, अलग अलग पर्सनालिटीज जो है। अगर उसमें एंजाइटी आई तो आपने एंजाइटी का मेडिसिन दिया, डिप्रेसिव फीचर्स आए तो डिप्रेसिव मेडिसिन दिया, एंटी डिप्रेसिव दिया आपने, इंसोम्निया हुआ तो स्लीप मेडिकेशन दिया। बट जो लार्ज पार्ट ऑफ ट्रीटमेंट है पर्सनालिटी डिसऑर्डर्स का, दैट साइकोथेरेपी। To say that personality disorders cannot be treated, and that's not true. Personality disorders require long-term psychotherapy, and if you work closely with your therapist, the outcomes in most personality disorders, especially in the cluster that you are talking about, that is quite beneficial.
Got it, doctor. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू राधिका। अब हम मरियम पे आते हैं। मरियम, आप अपना सवाल प्लीज डॉक्टर पारिक से पूछ सकते हैं। एंड बाय द वे फेलोज, अगर आपको और भी सवाल हो, इफ यू हैव मोर क्वेश्चंस, फील फ्री टू आस्क डॉक्टर पारिक। विल जस्ट डू वन राउंड एंड देन विल कम बैक आस्क मोर, या इफ टाइम अलाउस। जी मरियम, प्लीज गो अहेड।
हेलो, मेरा नाम मरियम है और मैं देवरिया की रहने वाली हूँ, उत्तर प्रदेश की। और फिलहाल जर्नलिज्म में अभी आई हूँ और अभी देख रही हूँ कि क्या हो सकता है बेहतर। और मेरा सवाल ये है कि हम अपने आसपास जो भी लोग हैं उन्हें कैसे पहचानें कि ये किसी समस्या से जूझ रहे हैं, किसी मुश्किल से गुजर रहे हैं, क्योंकि अक्सर हमें देखने में पता नहीं लग पाता और उन्हें भी नहीं पता होता, तो फिर वो चीज बाद में जाके एक बहुत बड़ा इश्यू बन जाती है। जैसे अगर शुरुआत में शायद सॉल्व कर लिया जाए तो आसान है। तो उन ट्रिगर्स को कैसे हम पहचानें और कैसे उसे डील करें?
मरियम, तुम्हारे सवाल के दो एस्पेक्ट्स हैं, एक है ट्रिगर एस्पेक्ट और एक है हाउ डू वी आइडेंटिफाई इफ समवन इज स्ट्रगलिंग फ्रॉम अ मेंटल हेल्थ इशू। तो पहले मैं दूसरे वाले पे आता हूँ, हाउ डू आई नो इफ समबडी अराउंड मी स्ट्रगलिंग फ्रॉम मेंटल हेल्थ इशू। अगर उनके अंदर कुछ चेंजेस आए जो थोड़े लगातार हो, ऑलमोस्ट डेली हो, ऑलमोस्ट 2-1 हफ्ते के आसपास तक तो मिनिमम चल रहे हो, और इन चेंजेस के कारण उनके जीवन पे एक असर हो रहा हो जो खराब असर हो, चाहे वो सोशल, ऑक्यूपेशनल, एकेडमिक, पर्सनल केयर, ठीक है। अब वो क्या क्या चेंजेस हो सकते हैं? सोशल चेंज, मतलब या तो आप लोगों से बात करना कम कर दिए, विथड्रॉ कर दिए, इंटरपर्सनल रिलेशनशिप खराब हो रही है, बिहेवियर, एंगर आउटबर्स्ट हो रहा है, गुस्सा ज्यादा आ रहा है, सब्सटेंस अब्यूज हो रहा है, विथड्रॉ कर रहे हैं, जिम्मेदारियां नहीं कर रहे हैं, परफॉर्मेंस यानी चाहे वो पढ़ाई में कमजोरी हो या काम में एरर्स होने शुरू हो जाए, सेल्फ यानी अपने बारे में हीन भावना आनी शुरू हो जाए, थॉट्स यानी नकारात्मक थॉट्स या कोई ऐसे थॉट्स आए जो आपको डिसीजन मेकिंग में इंटरप्ट करें, या आपकी डिसीजन मेकिंग खराब हो रही हो, आपकी सेल्फ केयर पे असर हो रहा हो, आपकी फिजिकल हेल्थ, स्लीप, एपेटाइट पे असर हो रहा हो, या आपके मन पे असर हो रहा हो, सैडनेस, एंजाइटी, एंगर एक्सप्रेस हो रहे हो। तो ये जो कुछ अलग अलग पहलू हैं, इनमें से कुछ साथ में आके लगातार रहें और आपकी क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ को खराब करना शुरू करें, प्रोबेबली यू मे बी हैविंग अ मेंटल हेल्थ कंसर्न। आपको उसके बारे में अपने फिजिशियन से बात करनी चाहिए, जो आपको आगे बताएंगे कि करना क्या है। जहां तक ट्रिगर की बात है, देखो कुछ ट्रिगर ऐसे होते हैं जो हम सब पे असर करेंगे, जो बड़े ट्रिगर होते हैं। कोविड एक बहुत बड़ा ट्रिगर था, सब पे असर किया। लॉस ऑफ अ लव्ड वन, unemployment, sudden financial losses, accident, major medical illness, इस तरह के बहुत से होते हैं जो ज्यादा असर करते हैं, जहां हमें लोगों की हेल्प की जरूरत पड़ती है। कुछ हमारे रोजमर्रा के होते हैं, एक एग्जाम आया, ब्रेकअप हुआ, आपसी मतभेद हो गया, कोई चीज की टेंशन हो गई, जहां पे हमें अपना स्किल सेट, अपना सोशल सपोर्ट और अपने अंदर के बदलाव लाके उस स्ट्रेस को हैंडल करना है। और हमें जब लगे कि हमारे आसपास हमारे किसी लव्ड वन को कोई स्ट्रगल, कोई स्ट्रेस हो रहा है, देन वी शुड प्रोवाइड फॉर साइकोलॉजिकल फर्स्ट एड। लुक माने नोटिस करिए, आइडेंटिफाई करिए कि हाँ कोई परेशानी उनको हो रही है। लिसन यानी लिसन टू देम, एम्पथी, नॉन जजमेंटल एटीट्यूड से उनसे बात करिए, उनको सपोर्ट दीजिए। तीसरा, लिंक, उनको सोल्यूशन की तरफ लेके जाइए, लिंक देम टू अ सोल्यूशन। सो इस तरह से हमें अप्रोच करना चाहिए।
Great. Thank you, Dr. Parikh. Again, we'll come to Sahel now. Sahel, you can ask your questions. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Doctor. So, I have a question that is very much related to the youth of India. And I'm 19 years old, and I'm a college student. So, I'd like to ask a question that relates to us a lot and hopefully will help us kind of find a better perspective and get clearer about this issue. So, as teenagers, we're not really good at managing time, right? So, let's be honest. And as a college student, the tendency to procrastinate is pretty common, especially during the initial few years of college, when it's not just academics we have to focus on, but fests, cultural events, competition, and different things that give us a lot of exposure. And the thing is, although we know procrastination is not right, at times there's no other option. So we keep things to the end. And one of the motivating factors that help us get that work done in time is the fact that we have very little time to do it. So we push ourselves, we put in maximum effort, even though if it's for a short period of time, but we stress our bodies and our minds and our, like, it's both physically and mentally stressful as well. But that works for the most of us. So when I look at myself and my friends around me, this is one thing that we've incorporated to our lifestyle because of how unpredictable it is. But at the same time, I'm very well aware that it's not good for us in the long run. There are a lot of negative impacts. So I would like to know what are some negative impacts that we'll be facing in the long run, and what are some ways that we can tackle it if it's really threatening, and how do we approach the whole situation?
You almost asked an exam question full of paper questions to me, right, Sahil? But let me put one thing in perspective. You mentioned sometimes procrastination is not a choice. Procrastination is always a choice, and you should not procrastinate. There is no reason to justify procrastination. In fact, you are right. I'm happier to hear when young people say, I also have my creative outlet. I'm also taking part in some creativity and fests and sports. Lovely. That's wonderful, because that prepares you for life better than anything else. But the idea is, how do you balance your academics and your performance at academics in young age and at work as you become a working adult with your creative, physical, social needs as well. And you need to balance them. Now, if you are letting yourself procrastinate as a college student today, that may also become a procrastination tendency when you are a working adult, and then you'll only pile up on your work. You will need to have a habit where you have a bit of a regular cycle of the day. You make sure that you finish one day's job on that day, and unless it's absolutely impossible to finish it on that day, only then carry it to the next day. The other thing which I think is important is seeking help, delegation, working together as teams is something young people need to learn. Learn to be also to take care. Don't do all-nighters. Don't leave things to the last moment, especially when it comes to academics and exams. The more all-nighters you have, the worse your performance would be. And you need to learn to balance. Even before an exam, you should be able to walk, take a stroll, have a light moment as well. And you need to continue to do that because life is continue to bring more challenges to you. Life will keep throwing darts at all of us. We need to keep upping our skill set. And the skill set would involve self-organization, management of time, doing things in an effective, timely, effective manner, having a sense of completion of tasks when we do, and finding time for our own self and taking breaks so that burnout doesn't happen. Because if burnout happens, then your productivity years reduce, your human errors increase, you get more psychological and mental fatigue, you physically start getting more tired, it affects your relationships and overall life. That's what happens in burnout. To prevent that, if you're day on day, you're almost on par with what is required, and you keep taking your breaks and balance your life with everything that needs to be, both in terms of stimulation and relaxation and fun, that's the way forward for young people.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the feedback, and that's all from my side.
Sorry. Thank you, Dr. Parikh, and thanks, Sahil. I'll go to Sukirat now. Sukirat, please go ahead with your questions.
Hello, sir. I'm Sukirat. I'm from Ludhiana, Punjab. Actually, you answered a lot of what I wanted to ask through Sahil's question. But फिर भी अगर आप देखें ना, तो because we all are from a media background, I especially feel that journalism of all fields really believes in hustle culture. It's not only very fast; it's very emotionally and mentally exhausting. So, like jobs like being a doctor or being a journalist on the field automatically mean much more stress and investment than other jobs. So ये सब कुछ हम ऐसे hustle culture वाले ऐसे exhaustive job में कैसे apply करें?
सुकिरत सही मानो तो मुझे ऐसा नहीं लगता कि कोई भी एक जॉब किसी दूसरे जॉब से ज्यादा आसान या ज्यादा मुश्किल होता है, राइट? हर एक जॉब के अपने ऑक्यूपेशनल हैजर्ड्स कह लो या रिक्वायरमेंट्स कह लो होते हैं. मैं 3 दिन पहले आई वाज टॉकिंग टू अ कंटेंट क्रिएटर एंड दिस कंटेंट क्रिएटर आस्क्ड मी द सेम थिंग. Then I have this hustle culture. If I have not made my content for a couple of days, I lose my the followers who are doing working. I will lose brands. It will not work for me. If I missed out on something, if I don't keep upping my game, it won't work. You talk to an athlete, they will tell you, even though a major tournament comes once a year, but if I don't practice every day and miss out on even a single practice, it may be a problem. You talk to a doctor and they will say कि हम शाम को off कैसे करें, emergency आएगा तो क्या करेंगे. You talk to a journalist like yourself and you'll say, 24 hours, what if the story comes, you have to break it right now in 24-hour break news cycle that we are in. You may be in social media, you may be saying something else. You may be a manufacturing unit and you may feel the same. You may be from BPO sector, you may feel the same. You may be a designer, a film personality, a writer. There is no field in life जिसमें हमें कुछ स्ट्रगल्स, कुछ स्पेशल एस्पेक्ट्स नहीं होंगे. कोर ये है, हमें अपने स्किल सेट को कंटिन्यूअसली बढ़ाना है. हम जो कर रहे हैं हमें एंजॉय करना है. और मेरा अपना मानना है कि किसी भी सक्सेसफुल करियर में एक चीज जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है वो वैल्यूज है. वैल्यूज अपने साथ रखिए, मेहनत करते रहिए, एंजॉय करिए, करियर आपका बहुत अच्छे से चलेगा. जहां वैल्यूज जाएंगी वहां करियर में आज नहीं तो कल परेशानी आएगी. like your young people need to understand कोई shortcut नहीं है और value is the core to success.
Thank you so much, sir. You actually, what you mentioned about other professions is very good. I think I was being very myopic about it. I do have another question though, because somebody also talked about the pandemic. So there's one thing that I've noticed, and I realized not just in myself or my friends, but in the entire generation of mine, कि our attention spans have reduced a lot. And our ability to work has also like lessened. We are all I think perpetually tired after the pandemic. So I know it's impossible to go back to exactly how we were before, but how do we get back on track? Because this is not really an ideal situation that we are in.
So Kiran, तो मुझे लगता है कि going back on track may not be the right term. What have we learned on this path has to be the right approach. COVID has given us a lot of learnings. Can we learn from it is the question. Can we learn that meaningful relationships matter? That when we work together collectively as a cohort, helping each other out, that matters? Have we learned that responsibility is of everyone and we need to take care of it? We've also realized that minimalistic living can also be fulfilling and we don't need to run after things. And we've started valuing a lot more of what we had forgotten valuing some years back. मुझे लगता है वो भी एक पहलू है. दूसरी बात, I think it's about time. It's only about time. Once time goes on, we will start getting into the cycle of life that we've always been. मुझे बस ये लगता है कि थोड़ा सीख के आगे बढ़े. कोविड बहुत सिखा के गया है. अगर हम सीख लेंगे तो हम अपना और अपने आने वाली generations के लिए it will be a good thing for us to do. And I don't think that it's merely about attention span and only COVID. मुझे लगता है कि a lot of it is also the way of life. When I see young people in a restaurant, वो सब के सब अपने फोन पे होते हैं. मुझे लगता है यार एक दूसरे से बात कर लो. ऐसी भी क्या बात है कि टेक्स्ट कर रहे हो अभी. And you see people going to these lovely places. वहाँ sunrise हो रहा है, अपना हम selfie खींच रहे हैं या surely the sunrise and the sunset would be prettier than all of us put together and multiplied with each other. And it's or when you are looking at some of these platforms, you take a second to scroll up and down or sideways or whichever way it works. You take a fraction of a second to give a reaction rather than thinking and saying something and using words. A lot of this is having an impact. I don't think it's merely about COVID. It's a way of life. It's how we start honking on a red light. I mean, surely you can see the red light. I mean, somebody in kindergarten will tell you on red light we're all supposed to stop, and anybody who's honking on the red light, you would want them to go back to kindergarten, wouldn't it? And it is these kind of things. I think it's more to do with at different moments in our time, like what Radhika had said, this is our narcissism. हमें लगता है कि हमारा काम औरों से ज्यादा जरूरी है, हमारी जल्दी औरों से ज्यादा जरूरी है, हम कुछ नहीं करेंगे तो पता नहीं क्या हो जाएगा, तो आप सब हटो और मुझे जाने दो. So that self VIP narcissism culture, where I keep on clicking my own picture and then use filters and keep on putting my own picture on my own feed, that my own feed looks like only my own expressions in different clothes. How much more narcissistic can we get, right? So it's the way you look at it, beta. So yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Parikh. I think I really like the way how you put very simple examples, relatable examples, and explain complex question in the most simplest way. So I'll open the floor. Any more questions that fellows that you have for Dr. Parikh? अबे आप पूछना चाहते हैं शायद कुछ?
श्योर. सो जो एक और सवाल है मेरे पास, हम बात कर रहे थे कि द लिंक विच यू टॉक्ड अबाउट, दैट इफ यू सी some certain changes in a particular person, you should help them by linking them to a professional जो उनकी मदद कर सके. बट सर कभी कभार 2-3 सिचुएशंस आ जाती हैं. एक कि हम वो लिंक कनेक्ट नहीं कर पाते हैं, हम ये भी बोलने की हिम्मत नहीं कर पाते हैं दैट you know what, I feel that you need someone's help, you need someone to help you, और मैं वो ब्रिज बनना चाहता हूँ. उसके अलावा सर कभी कभार ये भी सिचुएशन आती है दैट व्हेन यू एस्टैब्लिश इट कि you need someone's help but the other person is not ready to take that help. So how can you make that happen, because you cannot force someone, or is it try to force someone? So वहाँ पर जो moral dilemma आ जाता है, how to deal with that, or what is the solution?
सो अभय 3 हिस्से थे जो बात मैंने कही उसके, लुक, लिसन एंड लिंक। जो लिसन कंपोनेंट है वो हमारा एम्पैथी, कंपैशन, सपोर्ट कंपोनेंट है। जरूरी नहीं है कि हर पर्सन हमारी बात पहली बार में मान जाए, हो सकता है थोड़ा लंबा समय लगे। जब तक वो हमारी बात को समझ पाए अपने खुद की इंपॉर्टेंस, अपनी खुद की वेलबींग के लिए, तब तक आप अनकंडीशनल इमोशनल सपोर्ट जरूर देंगे। दैट वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड। ये एक ईगो इशू नहीं बन सकता कि मैंने तुम्हें समझा दिया, देखो तुम्हें जाना है, देखो अब तुम्हें अकल आई, इतने दिनों से बोल रहे थे और तुम अब जा रहे हो। ये नहीं करना है। और हमें ये समझना है कि हमें नॉन जजमेंटल रहना है। हमारा माहौल, 75% of the people in the world who need mental health support do not seek help. It's not about our country or your friends or my friends. It's globally a problem because people feel that I will be judged, I will be discriminated against. That's why World Mental Health Day. Make mental health a priority. Understand, create awareness, bring empathy, bring responsibility. So अगर नहीं भी समझ में आया, doesn't matter. Give it time, but don't stop supporting the person. I think that is the approach we need to have.
Right, sir. Thank you so much.
And Dr. Parikh, just to link to this question, like this is, I think we also get a lot, right? Well, as a friend, as a colleague, as a sibling, we all see that somebody close to us is getting impacted, affected. But again, basis on our limited experience, we could only help to a certain extent. But how do you deal with resistance? The other person also sometimes like, I'm okay and I don't need help, or well, there is a lot of resistance, especially people who are close and that they need support, but they're also not open to the whole
But
idea
Ashish,
of
that is okay. That is okay. If somebody says they do not need help, कोई बात नहीं. You continue to be around them. When they feel they'll need help, तब देंगे. But तब तक don't leave them alone just because they are not able to understand it.
yeah,
Most people in the world don't understand about mental health issues.
true.
It's okay. That's also okay. You will get people who are open to it. Some people are not open to it. Some people are reluctant. Some people are not part of life. You just do not judge people and discriminate against them. I think that has to be the key. Don't blame them. Mental health is not mental illnesses are not a matter of choice. It's not a matter of weakness. Mental illness is like any other illness. And that's what we need to understand.
Perfect. Great. Okay, fellows, any more questions? कोई और सवाल आपके मन में हो डॉक्टर पारिक के लिए, मेंटल हेल्थ से जुड़ा हो?
I have a question.
Ashish.
जी सर.
Yeah, I think there is a question which is coming on your chat. So if you
Sure.
want to take that also. And I
Sure,
hope you'll be
sure.
editing this. So yeah. So just
Okay. Sir, I'll read that question, and Radhika, फिर मैं आपके पास वापस आता हूँ. So, sir, Pragati हैं. She could not join for some technical issue, but she is also one of our Story for Glory fellow winner. So, she's a journalism student from Bihar, and she's asking that, sir, many times at many places, mental health disorder is not even acknowledged. It is given a superstitious angle many times, and especially in rural areas. So can you tell us some very basic effects of mental health disorders that should be kept in mind to be aware? Like what are some of the symptoms and signs, basically what she wants to know, and what could be a basic support / treatment / counseling that we can provide to somebody who you think is affected?
access or awareness dono nahi hai. It's not only about awareness, Pragati, it's also about access to help. मान लीजिए I'm living in a place where for miles and miles I don't have a medical expert, or even further away I have a psychological or a psychiatrist support. Now if I'm having depression, people around me will be able to explain depression only based on their understanding. They don't have an access to a diagnosis, access to medicine, access to counseling, सो दे बिकम वल्नरेबल टू इट। और मुझे लगता है कि आज के ज़माने में जो डिजिटलाइजेशन है उसका जो पॉजिटिव है वो यही है कि आप चाहे दुनिया में कहीं भी हो, डिजिटल वर्ल्ड आप तक पहुंच पाता है। और वो डिजिटल वर्ल्ड के माध्यम से अगर हम अवेयरनेस को कंसिस्टेंटली करेंगे तो लोगों में रूढ़िवादिता खत्म होगी। दूसरी बात, यही डिजिटल वर्ल्ड इंटरवेंशन का भी सपोर्ट है। हमारी गवर्नमेंट ने भी बहुत स्टेप्स लिए हैं कोविड के दौरान मेंटल हेल्थ को लेके, जहाँ पे टेली मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में काफी बात हो रही है, टेली मेंटल हेल्थ हो भी रही है और गवर्नमेंट भी उसके बारे में बहुत काम कर रही है। और मैंने खुद पिछले 2 सालों में देखा है कि जो रूरल इंडिया से लोगों ने रीच्ड आउट फॉर ट्रीटमेंट फॉर मेंटल हेल्थ बहुत बड़ा है, क्योंकि पहले उनके लिए इट वाज सेवरल 100 किलोमीटर्स ऑफ गोइंग टू एन एक्सपर्ट, नाउ इट इज पिकिंग अप अ फोन एंड टेकिंग टेली हेल्थ। इट्स अ वेरी बिग इम्पैक्ट एंड दैट इज वेयर द सोल्यूशन इज। उसके साथ मुझे लगता है स्कूलों में मेंटल हेल्थ करिकुलम, प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर में मेंटल हेल्थ ट्रेनिंग एंड सपोर्ट, वेदर इट्स द आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर गिविंग counseling, whether it is a school teacher giving basic counseling skills, whether it is the primary physician in the primary healthcare center who's able to give basic mental health related treatment, and using digital services for higher experts in continuity of treatment. I think that has to be the approach, and we encourage healthy lifestyle and life skills training. I think those aspects need to be looked at when we talk about rural India. And I think it's a very important question, and we must have a goal collectively: mental health for all. And all means each and every person on every nook and corner of our country.
I think, sir, you very emphasized a very important point, and just to remind to all our audience as well that this year's theme of World Mental Health is to make mental health for all a global priority, and this is as young citizens of India and of the world, it's our responsibility to prioritize. And some of us are aware, some of us are exposed, some of us are privileged that we also understand these issues and have resources to support ourselves and others around it. So we definitely need to make this a priority and leave no one behind. Coming back, I think Abhay had a question. So sorry, Radhika had a question. So Radhika, we don't have a lot of time, so we'll take one or two more questions before we uh, conclude our discussion for today. So Radhika, over to you.
श्योर सर, जैसे हमारा टॉपिक है अभी डिस्कशन ही एक्सेसिबिलिटी और हेल्प पर है, तो बेसिकली जब हम देखते हैं कि काफ़ी लोग होते हैं इन केस दे आर नॉट एबल टू अफोर्ड थेरेपीज या काउंसलिंग फॉर एनी रीजंस, फाइनेंशियल रीजंस की वजह से, क्योंकि हमने देखा है अक्सर थेरेपीज जो होती है वो फिनेंशियली अफोर्डेबल नहीं होती, स्पेशली फॉर स्टूडेंट्स, या फिर फैमिली रेस्ट्रिक्शंस की वजह से अगर कोई नहीं ले पाता है, तो व्हाट आर द ऑल्टरनेटिव्स टू दैट?
सो मुझे लगता है कि अगर हम वर्ल्ड स्टैंडर्ड्स या इंडियन स्टैंडर्ड्स को देखें, किसी भी एंगल को देखें, तो टू से दैट इन इंडिया थेरेपी इज एक्सपेंसिव फ्रैंकली इज नॉट ट्रू. Therapy is there from a spectrum. Yes, for some therapists in some areas may be expensive, but by and large, if you compare to any worldwide, you'll compare, then therapy in India is available at a very subsidized rate. That's one. Second, government setups and government hospitals provide for treatment free of cost. A lot of schools have school counselors, including in government schools, who can be utilized. You also have counseling skills which are being imparted at various levels in educational institutes, which are there. There are helplines which are there for crisis intervention, including in vernacular languages, awareness about that as well. And when it comes to acceptance by family members, it will take time. Some people accept sooner, some later. The more we have right kind of conversations with responsibility on mental health, the more mental health openness will be there. To make mental health a priority, mental health needs to be a part of a regular dialogue. Every second counts. Every second needs to be looked at from the angle of an opportunity that everyone has to advocate about mental health so that stigma and discrimination can be done away with.
Thank you, Dr. Parikh. One last question, and then we'll request Dr. Parikh to share his concluding remarks, especially when we're talking about theme for this year, which is to make mental health a priority for everyone. So, as young people of this country, what can we do? So, one more question, and then we'll go to Dr. Parikh, and then we'll close. Sahil, you want to go next? I could see that you want to ask a question, or if not, so then we'll come to Dr. Parikh. And Dr. Parikh, what is your message to youth of India, to youth of the world? How do we all collectively make mental health a global priority for everyone?
Keep talking about mental health. 1 in every 6 years lived in disability or because of some mental health condition. So, how about when you have conversations on social media, 1 in every 6 posts that you make are about mental health awareness? Right language, sensitivity, and compassion. Don't use slurs, don't troll, don't use abusive language, don't create that negativity, especially in the virtual world, because it impacts you more than anyone else. Be your own self. Don't be lost in conformity and comparisons. We are all individuals, unique individuals. Express your uniqueness. Balance your life with relationship, physical activity, sports, creativity, productivity, me time, family. Invest in relationships and unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. If there is a problem, don't bottle it up, share it with someone, and never hesitate to seek help. To make mental health for all, it needs to be accepted by all. For it to be accepted by all, we need to be aware about mental health. For awareness to be correct and not stigmatized, we need to work on the nature of communication and conversations we have. So, together we can make mental health a global priority, and that is possible if all of us decide that I shall be a mental health advocate. Experts cannot solve the problem of mental health. Advocacy is the need of the hour.
Amazing, sir. Amazing. While you were telling, I could see it for myself, working with so many young people. There are very simple things all of us could do, like how often we put an Instagram story, how often we put a short video on Josh and other platforms, but never we think about ki this could be a video that could make somebody's day. This could be a story that could be a kind word, a kind gesture that could really make your heart filled with joy. So I think all of us could do these simple acts of kindness, acts of being empathetic, and truly commit to make India and our society a very mental health friendly society for everybody. Again, on behalf of all of us, all the Story for Glory Fellows and Daily Hunt, MASH, we really thank you, Dr. Parikh, and a big thanks to you and everybody at Fortis Mental Health who does such amazing work. I know you have a team of such superhero of doctors, counselors, people who work day and night to support and take this message of making mental health a global priority for everyone. So again, a big thank you from all of us, and let's come together to make our society a mental health friendly society. So that's all from all of us today. Please take care, and we shall talk to you all very soon again. Thank you so much.